Welcome to Engaging Kitsap, a positive local forum where we bring engaging people, ideas, and organizations into our BCAT studio. And today we welcome Michael Goodnow, who over 25 years ago coordinated Kitsap's first Pride gathering. Michael has been key to the success and expansion of Kitsap Pride, whose mission is to celebrate, support, and unite the LGBTQ plus community in Kitsap County. Michael, welcome to Engaging Kitsap.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about that first event in '99.
Yeah, so it was pretty exciting. I was volunteering for an organization that had been called Gay County, and it was focused on men's kind of HIV prevention kind of space, modeled after a Seattle organization called Gay City. And there had been some pride picnics at Seabeck Scenic Beach State Park.
Beautiful place.
Absolutely. And the year before, there was about 35 folks, and it was organized by some folks from a group called West Sound Family and a group called Hands Off Washington, which had just defeated an initiative in the state of Washington, an anti-gay initiative. So there was, some community building. And so then this organization was new, and the energy was sort of building, and people were connecting. And from what had been about 35 people, a grill and a volleyball court, actually became a grill and a volleyball court and about 220 something people, which we immediately were informed that we had outgrown the space in Scenic Beach. It was a great day, and it was. There was even some, a group from I think it's gone now, but a Seattle lesbian gay chorus came over and sang, and it's such a beautiful space. It was just a great day, and that's kind of where we built on. Somebody there said, "Well, I have a farm in Southworth," and that's actually where we moved following that, and it was beautiful. But everyone loved it, but it wasn't very out, right? Like here we are saying we're kind of out and proud, and we're
right in a private space.
Beautiful. It was sort of like if Martha Stewart threw a Pride event. It was like orchard trees and tables with white linens, and but that's where we started to up the entertainment, and let's let these organizations have a table. Let's kind of do some of the things that people think of as a traditional festival, traditional Pride event.
Okay. So. Well, when you moved to Evergreen Park, is that when the gathering became an official full-blown festival?
That happened 2005 is when we came to the city of Bremerton, and things had just run its course there. In fact, the property that we were using technically was maybe 2 parcels, and the other people were going to build a home on it, and and it was growing, so there was less chance to park cars and all that kind of stuff. We were actually trying to run a shuttle from a nearby church parking lot. So moving to Evergreen was great, and the city of Bremerton was great. And we immediately had another sort of surge in attendance. And I would say that our time there probably was anywhere like from 1,500 people to maybe 3,000 folks. And it just kept growing and growing, and even our last years, which would be kind of pre-COVID, 2019, we had pretty much taken over the whole sort of south end of the park. We had taken over the street. We had just done a lot of things, and it all seemed great. We were somewhat crushed to leave Evergreen Park, and we kept thinking we would come back or things like that. But what we didn't realize, sort of the silver lining, was that we think moving to the fairgrounds was a sort of blessing in disguise, as it gave us so much more capacity. We saw a huge jump coming out of COVID because I think, in hindsight, folks coming to the park, Evergreen Park, might have had a hard time finding parking and things like that.
Yeah.
And then just said, you know what, let's go get lunch. Let's, whatever.
Yeah.
And because myself and all the planners and volunteers, we get there at 7 a.m. and we leave, 8 p.m. at night or something like that. So it kind of I often tell folks when they ask if we're going back there, I'm like, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? People say that all the time.
Right.
So we were looking at Pendergast Park because that's where we were for the first year of COVID, 2020.
Okay.
We actually decided to do a Pride in a Box, and we did these beautiful boxes that had they were black and white on the outside and full color on the inside, and just had like little banners and flags and stickers and an umbrella and all kinds of like fun stuff, and people could pre-order them. And we thought we were going to ship them, and then as the climate got better, we did a drive-through event, and people came through, and there were stations, and there were performers and drag queens, and there was a stop where you could be in your car and you could shop, and then you got your box, and we gave away some freebies, and people were on their way. So, so we've somewhat were uninterrupted, and coming out of COVID is what moved us to the fairgrounds here, where they were saying like, oh, you could have 400 people in a certain amount of space, and it was very mathematical. So we said, well, that's what we can do. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And then sort of reverse sort of when people talk about pivoting for something, we were able to, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, and we pretty much had a full festival at the fairgrounds that first year out of COVID. I guess that's 2021. And included things like vaccines and COVID testing.
Timely.
So
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You're gonna have that many people together. You might as well,
to be quite honest, the LGBT community is, not a real stranger to like a health pandemic. So so there's folks that take it pretty seriously. So.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful to hear about the transition of it and see that it's getting more and more popular, and so many more things are included and so many more people included over time.
Yes.
I want to transition a little bit to talking about Kitsap Pride.
Mm-hmm.
When did it become a nonprofit, and what is the Kitsap Pride Network that you're president of?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think in 2006, actually 2006 is I was at Pride, but it was the year that I did not run the event. And the organization that had been running it kind of ran its course, and it was kind of faltering. And in order to make sure that the Pride event happened, we didn't actually start a nonprofit, but we sort of circled the wagons. And I just got a bunch of mostly nonprofits, churches, and stuff. I got a whole bunch of folks like to chip in $500. And then we, did the regular, sold the vendor spaces and things like that. And we kind of pulled it off. And we ran as the Kitsap Pride Network underneath a different nonprofit for several years. And then at some point we decided, we should be doing nonprofit work a little easy. It often fell under the nonprofit that I was working on, working for at the time. Okay. And we just kind of kept that ball in the air for a while. And then we're able to get our, because there was some instability, and once things stabilized out, and then we filed. So I guess we probably became a nonprofit in maybe like 2009.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, I want to talk a little bit about the history of the movement in Kitsap, and to ask you about how a newcomer, somebody that's come to Kitsap, sees the successes, the inroads that have been made over time, but may not know much about the evolution of the movement here. Yeah. So what's changed in 30 years?
Pride started in basically 1970 as a marker for events of Stonewall riots in 1969. And so it's been it was in the big cities, right? And so when we started here in Washington, it was probably Seattle and Tacoma. In fact, that's even the way the weekends sort of fall. Seattle falls on the main anniversary weekend. Then we have 4th of July. Then we have Tacoma Pride, and then pretty much Kitsap Pride is always that third Saturday in July. And but now it's kind of exciting. We're seeing Bainbridge Island has a Pride, and Poulsbo has a Pride, Gig Harbor has a Pride, and we do our best to support them and mentor them as we can. But so again, ours started very humbly, very just people. I think we all feel the need to get together and be included. So it's kind of grown from that, and kind of multiplies, or I guess nowadays we say things go viral, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody sort of hears about it, and there's good acceptance. And on that note, it's not been completely easy, but overall, looking back, I would say that here in Kitsap, it's been pretty well received with some. There's good people here. I think that's why I like living here and why I've chose to stay here.
Yeah, I agree. Great people,
So
definitely.
I have served on an international board of Pride organizers and a national board of Pride organizers, and have kind of been the representative for the Northwest region for a bunch of years. I'm not currently doing that, but it's been also interesting for me to sit and hear what other states and cities are going through, for good or bad, but also internationally, what's happening in places that just don't have any rights, LGBT rights at all, and what they're where they're going and how brave they are. So.
Well, I know that Mayor Greg Wheeler recognized you by declaring July 22nd, 2023, I think it was, so last year, recognized you as the first openly gay Bremerton City Council member and council president, and said that you were a driving force behind inclusion, and locally and internationally. So.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. I knew the board was going to recognize me for my time. I didn't realize they were going to, pull the mayor in. And as like you mentioned, I serve on city council, so I had no clue it was coming. So I was really taken that day. It was really lovely. And another thing that they organized was they had Senator Emily Randall come on stage and read a statement that Derek Kilmer had read on the House floor. Now I'm getting choked up, but recognizing the time I've done and what we've accomplished here as a community.
Oh, well, it's so wonderful. You deserve that recognition. Congratulations for that. I wonder what you think still needs to be done to have the LGBTQ plus community feel fully embraced, in your opinion?
Yeah, there's plenty, and I think it really just centers around just letting people be individuals. We say something's different, and that's because we're not used to it or familiar with it, or we haven't been exposed to it. And so I think of oftentimes trans folks or kind of gender nonconforming or non-binary folks might really have a hard time in the workplace, in renting and things like that, just because they may not appear like people think they should appear. And the more we can sort of break these kind of molds that we try to the holes that we try to put people into, and just let people be people and try to understand what folks are about. So I think authenticity is people want to live as their authentic selves, and we should just be kind, and we should just let them do that. So what this makes me think of is that we try to do something we call Pride 365, whereas Pride's not just one day, not just the third Saturday in July, but a series of events. And we stopped doing them before COVID, but we're kind of working on them already. And we've done movie screenings and Mariners games and bowling and different kinds of events. We typically do a picnic in June at Pilgrim Firs down on Lake Florida, Port Orchard. We've done, I can't remember now what I've said. We've done wine tastings and mystery dinners and all kinds of different things. So we're building that right now, where we've got some stuff coming up this year, and we're hoping every year there'll just be some things. It's an interesting thing is that pretty much every year at Pride, I get a moment to catch my breath and kind of take it all in, and it's always very moving. And usually somebody will say, now it's, as it gets bigger, it's less likely to be me, but
Yeah.
somebody always says like, oh, I had no idea this happened. This means so much, whether it's because for themselves or for their child or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it like felt like, okay, well, see you in a year,
Right.
so that's why we like to do some things. We do some adult things, we do some family things, and we try to mix it up. And again, we're building community here.
You definitely are. Well, share how people can learn more about all these events you're talking about,
Yeah,
and maybe how they might volunteer or participate in other ways.
So we always need volunteers. We have a very active planning committee that happens almost year round. We have a board of directors, but we need a lot of volunteers to pull off the event. Again, folks say it's very rewarding because they hopefully get a moment to take that pause and take it in, or hear some feedback, and they can just see what it really means to people. And I think what we're trying to do is leave the place better than we found it, right? So you can go to our website, which is kitsappride.org, and we're also on social media on Facebook and Instagram, and probably a few others at sort of the @Kitsap Pride handle, I guess is. So website's good, especially for the festival. If you're on Facebook, if you have access to it, it's maybe better for some of the events, just because it has sort of a good engine to build an event into. But yeah, we really welcome input, and we'll be putting out a call for leading up to the festival for entertainers and all that kind of stuff, to try to have a diverse stage. It's a big event. It literally is almost $10 a person. As we plan for 6,000 people where we're at now, it's about a $60,000 event. So
wow.
We need help fundraising, and anything we can do with volunteers that we don't have to pay somebody for helps it. But because a big goal is to make sure it's a free event. Many cities have prides where you have to pay. You have to pay, whether it's for a day or a weekend or whatever. You have to pay to get into the fenced-in festival area. And so we really want to make sure it's accessible to everybody.
Well, I think that's a wonderful goal. Thank you for being here and talking about this. Thank you for being just a huge inspiration to the community. I really appreciate that. We all do.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Of course. You've been watching Engaging Kitsap, a positive local forum where we bring engaging people, ideas, and organizations into the BCAT studio. And we'll see you next time.